Hello and welcome to the Say I Do It with Fuze podcast. My name's George McLean, a celebrant and a guest host today, and we're up in the Stirling Court Hotel in Stirling. I'm very pleased to welcome on the episode today two very good friends of Fuze from Your Scottish Wedding magazine. We have Lesley Traynor, the founder and director, and Katie Bletcher, editor of Your Scottish Wedding. So welcome and thanks for coming to join us on this episode. Brilliant. Well, listen, my first question to you guys has got to be, do you ever not think about weddings?
That's a good question. No, would be the answer. We were
That's a short version.
We were just chatting last week in our weekly catch-up, and the Met Gala just happened. So yes, we're all talking about all the wonderful outfits, but we're also going, why would that be applicable to weddings? Which ones of these would you see transferring onto an aisle or bridal entrance? And it's just every morning, if you look at my own private Instagram feed, wedding related, everything constantly. So I don't think we've ever really switched off. Just like even watching the BAFTAs, the TV BAFTAs, seeing the red carpet for that, seeing Stacey Solomon reworked her wedding dress. Yeah, look at the story in that, always. So, yeah, I don't think we're ever not thinking wedding related.
No, there's always something that you can relate a wedding to. So we're never really off the clock when we're officially off the clock. So, yeah, it's constant.
You'll be the same,
isn't
George.
it? I think it's a fun industry, and it's a industry that is happy. And, you know, we always looking for a bit of content, I guess. I know I've always got my eyes open for turning something into wedding related. Drives my wife mad, I've got to say. Perhaps it's the same in your other halves.
Ted's I've been in this industry for 34 years, George. So Ted's very much like, he's just used to it now. He does the odd rolling of the eyes and he's like, oh, do your thing. Yeah, he's very, very understanding.
My other half is also a former journalist, so he knows the story. He knows, he's always got an eye out for a good story too, good news story.
Absolutely. Well, on that topic then, you both mentioned there how long you've been in the industry. A nice wee segue into my next question, and that's to tell us a wee bit about your journeys, please, and how you've happened to be here in your current roles in Your Scottish Wedding magazine. Maybe I'll switch to Lesley first.
Oh, so left school when I was 17, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and was a receptionist for a short while, and then very quickly went into hotel reception, and then from there just built my way up into event management, in particular weddings. I absolutely loved them. Did that for a number of years, and when I left that industry I was events manager at a really prestigious hotel in Glasgow. And then I moved over to publication, Scottish Wedding Directory at the time, and I was there for 17 years. And unfortunately, during COVID, that obviously closed down, which was a real loss to this industry. And for me, I was devastated for the staff. I was devastated for the industry because there was a huge loss there. There was a genuine grieving process in that. And certainly for myself, I had a proper meltdown.
Sure, yeah, I understand.
During that time, because I just didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And the industry rallied round and offered me a number of amazing opportunities, which I declined just because I wanted to have a proper rethink about what I wanted to do. And it was my husband that said, just open back up. So I said, do you know how much money that's going to cost? And he said, just do it. He said, well, we could always make money. So
hold on, Lesley, is this the eye-rolling same husband?
This is the eye-rolling same husband, George. Yes, he's extremely supportive. He's genuinely my rock. Honestly, he's fabulous. But he said, you know, if anybody's going to do it, you should do it. So I thought, okay, let's do it then. So we emptied our savings account. We used the redundancy money. And latterly, I had to sell my house to fund Your Scottish Wedding. We don't have backers. We've never taken loans. We've never been interested in that. You know, I'm very vehemently independent, and I'm very much like, if I can't do it myself, then I shouldn't be doing it. So yeah, we have poured everything into that, and we stayed in a caravan for a year and a half but we're now back in a house, which is very nice because the caravan can be quite chilly in the winter time. So yeah, so we're now 4 years in. It's all going well. We've got the
Wow.
most amazing suppliers with us. Yeah, it's been such a journey, but an amazing journey at the same time.
I remember our first chat when you and Katie got on a Zoom call with Laura and I from Fuze about kind of being part of the advertising and the
Yes.
directory and stuff like that. And I remember being so excited about your energy and your passion and your love
Yeah.
for the industry. And that's
Yeah.
definitely one of the big reasons that we just had to be part of it.
Yeah. Am I great? But I mean, I think that this industry is very much like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. Like I had a short stint where I stepped away from this industry in between going from venues across to Scottish Wedding Directory, and I went into banking for a very short period of time, and I realised that is just not for me. I missed the industry terribly. I had to get back in, and the way of doing that was through a new avenue for me, which was publishing. But I loved it. I just loved it because I got to speak to you guys and, just
Yeah.
chat all day long. It was so good. I love
Who
it.
doesn't love a blather? What about you, Katie? What was your journey?
I started out straight out of school to go and do English Lit and History of all things as my undergrad at Edinburgh Uni, which was brilliant. I got to sit around talking about plays and things all day long and had an absolute ball. And then went, oh, don't really know what to do with this. So had a bit of a year out, did some work, went abroad for a little bit, and then did my postgrad in journalism, which I think is where my leaning always was, but sometimes it just takes a little bit of a confidence to say, right, that's what it's going to be. The idea was always to write features. I think at one stage I had it in my head I was going to swan off to Italy and write nice little travel features. But the first job that came up in journalism was actually news reporting, which I did for 5 years, I think. But always in the back of my head, it's like, no, magazine features is where it's at. And Scottish Wedding Directory happened to come under the parent company, DC Thompson, that I was working for at the time. And opportunities came up to do freelance work for them. And then eventually a job came up, and I'm like, well, that's what I want to be doing. So I was doing like hard news reporting during the day, but had been spending my evenings writing about weddings, thinking, well, this is nice. This is kind of to speak to people about lovely engagement stories and follow them the whole way through until the final wedding. So yeah, I just love that it's always happy news story, happy subject matter. They're not always, actually. You'll know yourself, George, from sometimes weddings happen in not the happiest of circumstances whenever, there's something going on in the family or someone's ill, that sort of thing. But it's the privilege when people decide to share that story with you as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And I think over the years, well, certainly I've been 2017, I became a celebrant, and I realised that the reason I got into it was because of the kind of humanist-led weddings were building real pace. Have you guys seen also a rise in that? And what do you think leans people towards choosing a humanist-led ceremony than others these days?
I think it's just the flexibility of, because I think generations, I think that religion is a generational thing. I think it's becoming less popular, if I'm allowed to say that. But just certainly from what we've seen, more and more people don't want a religious ceremony. And equally, they don't necessarily want to be in a church or a chapel or a registry office or, so people can get married on a beach or up a hill or in their back garden, which obviously lends itself perfectly to having a celebrant because you can be married anywhere in Scotland, which is fabulous.
Yeah,
I think I think my perspective from speaking to our real life couples will always say to them, why have you chosen the ceremony type you've gone for? And when it's a humanist ceremony, it's always that personal aspect that we get to stand up and say exactly how we feel about each other. And, there's, what is it? The only prescribed words are accepting each other as your husband or your wife in Scotland, which I love. And then they get to have that personality and really, really put their own take on things too. And humanism just lends itself perfectly to that.
Yeah, 100%. And Katie, you were saying earlier there, I'm not sure if I let you finish your little story. I'm just thinking back. I might have veered off into a different topic there, but when you finished up on the DC Thompson stuff you were doing, then you came across full time with Lesley and her team. Is that kind of how your journey came to
Well,
be?
yeah, I was with Lesley, obviously, when the Scottish Wedding Directory wound up. I think Lesley says she went not had a little meltdown. I went and chopped down trees in my garden for about 2 weeks, I think, to reassess my life, having taken the redundancy. And yeah, Lesley rang and it's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. We started out initially just as a website, and then I think we were only about 6 months into that when the phone call came again. And it's
Yeah,
right. So now we're going to do magazines as well and branch out into that.
because we
And we've not
officially
looked back.
launched. Yeah, we officially launched on the 23rd of April, 2021, because that was the day that the lockdown was being opened back up again. So we launched the website then, and then I think it was the October. I said to Katie, right, the industry's back up, weddings are taking place again. Let's get this magazine done and dusted. And she said, when do you want to do this? And I said, oh, for January. And then she was like, it's impossible. We can't turn a magazine round between October and January. And I was like, yeah, we can. And we did.
Right, we're gonna need
We did.
and but we're gonna need some backup. We're gonna need some writers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
there's
we
not,
did
you
it.
don't have a huge team though. You were saying there's quite a small team of you that put together
Yeah.
a chunky piece of work.
There's only 8 of us. Yeah, there's 8 of us. And it's Scottish Wedding Directory. We had 17. So yeah, we wear lots of hats, and it just shows the amount of dedication, the commitment, the loyalty. Like honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better team like that, and I genuinely mean that. Like I say it all the time to them as well. Like I do pinch myself. They're phenomenal. Their dedication to not only the industry but to wedding couples
Yeah.
and where we trying to take everything. Like yeah, it's phenomenal.
From your team, Lesley, what would you just quick calculation in your head if you can? What do you think the average age of your team is?
Oh, you're never meant to ask a lady her age, George.
I'm not asking you your age. I'm asking the
Yeah,
average age of your
Um,
team. Just ballpark.
the average age of our team is probably 35-ish,
Right.
sort of mid-30s, yeah.
Well,
Go
you
from
are
Gen X to
perfectly.
Gen Z.
Yeah, exactly that.
I'm certainly mama bear. I'm old. I'm the mama bear for sure. Like I'm the oldest one in our team.
The average
Not far
age
behind.
of you're perfectly pitched for the average age of couples. So on the last National Records of Scotland
Oh no,
stat,
absolutely.
35 for a male and 33 point something for a female.
Yeah.
And Katie, you mentioned earlier, I asked you about the humanist-led weddings and stuff like that, and you were talking about religious weddings, and they are in decline. You know, there's no doubt that doesn't mean we're anti-religious by even
No.
talking this way, because if it gives people comfort and faith, and absolutely
Absolutely.
for that. But getting back to those other stats, it was about the year before last, which is the last stats we have, is about 8,000 humanist-led weddings in Scotland and about 4,000 other sort of faith weddings, which is definitely more than the 2,500 religious weddings.
Yeah.
But one of the things is, as well as flexibility, I think you're right. I think you said it, Lesley, that couples like the fact that it's in one place as well.
Yeah.
So have you seen in the features that you've done, do you see that coming through quite a lot as well, that people are kind of in one place for their ceremony and then the after party?
I think one thing that we always will put forward is, yes, you're right, humanist weddings have definitely overtaken religious, but we are always keen to celebrate diversity throughout our pages, throughout our website. So we are still seeing, your church or your chapel wedding followed by moving on to your reception.
Yeah.
Equally, we're seeing the humanist weddings that are happening, the mountains, deer in the background, that sort of thing. So and I think that's one of the great things about this being your Scottish wedding. It's, unlike England where you're having to get married under some legal, like, sort of canopy, at least you can get married absolutely anywhere here. So it is just celebrating getting out in the outdoors if that's your thing. If you are keen hill walkers and you feel like you need to take on a massive trek before you actually say I do, we'll celebrate that. Equally, if you do feel that you are wanting to go into a more traditional setting and then move on somewhere else. And then we've seen, I think we just published a wedding where they happen to have an after party moving on to like the only kind of nightclub in St Andrews. We'll also see that. And I could be showing my age. Maybe there are more than one nightclub in St Andrews, but definitely the one that I know of.
Some of my favourite venues have been, old religious venues, like converted churches and chapels.
Like Oranmore.
Type of thing. There's lots.
Yeah.
Oranmore in Glasgow, Dunglass Castle down in North Berwick.
Yeah.
There's loads of them around, isn't there?
And is it Coates Paisley as well?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's really very gothic feel and
stunning. They're stunning.
People then get a bit of both worlds. They feel like this is a traditional movie wedding. Yeah, they can have the sort of humanist angle of being personal and everything that goes alongside that. Is there anything that's kind of hot just now, or that you kind of seen a lot of, or maybe the early fledglings of something someone should jump onto?
The big trend in fashion this season, for the last wee while actually, is basque waist and dropped waists. It's everywhere right now. I saw just from the designers' runways into the bridal fashion weeks, and now we're seeing real life brides really rocking this trend, and it's gorgeous. It's a way to give you your real fairy tale moment, and really, accentuate that nipped in waist and elongated body. It's just gorgeous. There's a lot of draping going on in venues. So we're at a venue fairly recently, and they were setting up lots of just beautiful suedes of white material coming sort of from the ceiling right down and hanging suedes, which again is from this cover shoot too. We're seeing that. That's a big thing.
I'm certainly seeing a lot more effort made. You see it, different people put different effort, I guess. Budget as well, isn't it? But people want what they can actually get type of thing. But I'm seeing aisles looking a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot more kind of
so big candles, big pieces, lots more floral arrangements with your big arches at the bottom, or your triangular or your hexagon.
Like this, actually, that was for it, like of the end of lockdown though, because we had our gorgeous, saw so many beautiful little micro weddings. Absolutely. We were talking about earlier, a lot of them just taking off into the wilderness. But I think also, probably influenced as well by British, and we've been seeing a lot of, we're out of that. Pandemic's done. Let's celebrate. Let's go bigger, but go home.
Yeah.
One of the things I see during ceremonies is I see from the side the events people ready to swarm in to decant what they've created and move it.
Sense and sustainability as well. Why would you order in twice as much when so actually this can be flicked and recycled? Absolutely.
See, a lot of that. A kind of bit of a ceremony trend of people moving away from the drinking from the quay and they're doing a shot instead. A bit fun, really.
I'd rather not do that as well.
She did actually. She did actually. Yeah, she did. I remember when she did it. She, rather than have a glass, she's paranoid about spilling on the dress.
Yeah, of course.
So she had it was like a little bottle with a stemmed neck, so that you could put the neck in your mouth and just get this all get in your mouth. No matter what. I often give my couples a bit of a kind of here's a top tip for you moment.
I know, especially if you do see them putting something like Aperol spritz in there quick, something that's definitely going to stay in you.
It does get a good laugh though, because people are kind of who know a bit of Quake are expecting whiskey. And then when you kind of pull from the table like some kind of strawberry Copperberg or anything in it.
It'll also get a laugh and it'll break the ice a bit as well, won't it? I think the loveliest one I saw of those was a couple who were just obsessed with tea. So they made a cup of tea in there quick with the teapot cup and someone pouring in the milk as well.
I had the groom was of Chinese descent and his parents were over from there and they did a Chinese tea ceremony during the ceremony at Lesley. In a tradition from their culture, of course. Then the bride and groom had to sit on these very grand, almost like a throne.
Oh, nice.
And each set of parents gave the bride or the groom a red envelope containing money, basically. But again, it's a bit of a trend.
I was going to do that.
Kind of cultural thing over there.
For dowry.
And that's what I was saying earlier about you can incorporate in some of these different traditions, and
which is nice, and why not?
I love that. And I know in the Chinese culture as well, have to set the groom tasks I'm sure the guy the brides may have to set at tasks in the morning.
Ah, right.
Yeah. I think another trend I've seen, sort of ceremonies related, has been the rise of the flower man. You've seen this a lot.
Just had it on Sunday, right? It's blowing up on Instagram.
I think my daughter would have felt totally overlooked. Someone stealing a thunder, but to be my her and sister-in-laws.
So they get more views than her.
No one would have dared.
So what about we're kind of touching on social media a wee bit there. So how has that changed the wedding industry?
Phenomenally. We're seeing people having content creators at their weddings. So in the past, it would have been photographer, and it was always a debate of, do I need a videographer as well? Yeah. And now you've got your content creator in there as well and ready to send you over your reels from the day.
Yeah. And they all do 3 totally different things, which
absolutely,
I think is important to mention as well, because I think initially when content creation came in for weddings, like your photographers and your videographers, I think initially it's not that now. I think initially it was like, like they're going to take my job away from me, and it's not the case at all, because they are 3 totally different jobs. So a photographer is obviously capturing the moment, the day, etc., and they'll have that forever. To look back on through their album and stuff like that. Same with the filmmakers. You can put your DVD in and watch that multiple times over. And again, your content creation, it's short snippets of the day. It's not like a proper video. It's short snippets. You're getting wee bits throughout the day, getting maybe sent to you so that you can then put it live straight away, etc. So it's actually a really nice thing, and I think it's here to stay for a while, for sure. For sure.
And
I think probably the last of the big things to a new sector, so to speak, isn't it?
Yeah, just on the other sort of flip side of that, like social media is such a powerful tool. Like, we love it at your Scottish Wedding. It's great, but certainly from a wedding couple's perspective, like we talk to them, we attend 34 wedding fairs a year, so we talk to a lot of couples and they'll say, it's so overwhelming, like scrolling, it's so overwhelming, like you're trying to see as much as you possibly can, and you're saying, oh, that's really nice, we'll do that, and then you see something else, and then you're like, and it can be so overwhelming for couples. So
I think that's why it's so good to actually have a physical magazine.
I was just about to say that, like they kind of call the magazine like their quiet time. It's their quiet time, and I'm like, I'd never really thought of it like that, but I mean, sometimes I'll go into social media, like most days I'm on social media just scrolling through, trying to see what the latest trends are, what's going on, what people are doing. And sometimes I come off going, that was a lot. And before you know it, you've wasted 2 hours of your day. You're like,
I remember my own daughters, all 3 when they were planning their wedding, and they've been to the shows, and you're right, it's kind of like, they're pretty timeless and evergreen onto the additions, because you can pick up, other than styling things that are coming up, like the dress types earlier, but a lot of the stuff is pretty evergreen, and you can still get a good look at a good read over stuff. Like a year ago's edition.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think one of my favourite sections is always going to be the real life weddings and showing how you can do it and can do it. I actually wrote about it in the welcome for this issue. One of the brides had said to me, I loved the magazine because it showed me I can do it my way. I don't have to follow any particular rules.
Yep.
And they got married on stage at the theatre where they met when they were both working there, and just did it completely their style. They had
that was Daniel's wedding.
Yes, it was beautiful. I love. So they had the groomsmen serving ice cream like Usher style. It's just gorgeous wedding. But again, they did it exactly how they wanted to do it, and I think we'll always celebrate that and show the different ways and just the diversity that there is.
Yeah.
Set a budget is always what we would say.
Yeah.
First thing,
Spreadsheet. And tick things off as you do them. I mean, we speak to obviously hundreds and hundreds, thousands of wedding couples every year, and especially at wedding fairs, like that's a great opportunity for us. It also gives us an insight as to how they're planning, how they're booking stuff. Like, some people come in and they're just like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know what to do, and other people are, oh yeah, we got engaged 2 weeks ago and we booked the photographer.
Yeah,
just Black's the bands, but
I think what a lot of couples are unaware of is the lead time. Yeah, some of your
so important
designers, your photographers, celebrant can be booked.
Yeah. We always say our diary is open just as much as if you book your venue, you're bookable, really.
Because you were saying earlier, obviously, like, you'll see people maybe sort of 4 months before they get married, etc. But obviously they're booking you well in advance of that date so that they're guaranteed to get you in particular. So if we're wanting a specific person,
Yeah.
really important to obviously get that date booked as quickly as possible.
And make sure you have somebody to actually marry you on the date. I've heard awful stories of people who've got their venue booked, but they don't have anyone to marry them on that day. Seems incredible.
Yeah, we do look at short-term bookings and they maybe thought, or the venue supply that, or it just magically happens.
Like we were talking about earlier on, all about the misconceptions of how you actually get married and the legalities. It's not going to be like the movies where you can just say, "Oh, like let's get married tomorrow." That doesn't happen.
I know.
You've got your legal and lead-in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Maximum of 29 days is and it does. We've had some short-term bookings for different reasons.
Yeah.
But it's not like the movies.
No, I was going to say, like, I think reality television has caused quite a lot of these things that, again, some couples are like, so we got engaged 3 months ago and we're just going to find a venue and do this, that and the next thing. And I'm like,
yeah, they've also got a whole production team behind them a lot of the time.
Exactly, so that's what I mean. So reality thing, you're not actually planning anything. Like
with England and Wales, where they haven't legalised the humanist ceremonies, still happen. So they, like that Don't Tie the Bride programme, for example, that was, when you've seen those weddings happen, they've obviously done it in the registry office the day before or whatever it was. So I guess you could have a kind of fake wedding the next day if you kind of wanted that romantic film moment, but in Scotland we've been blessed with that since 2005, that it's a legal entity. Like you said earlier, Lesley, of the Upper Hill and Mount and everything in between. So social media, I agree, social media has been a great vehicle for couples to find suppliers.
Yeah.
When you guys help that, because you can house it as on your directory, which is brilliant, and you post about that stuff. I'll comment on that a bit more in a minute, because I know you'll be working on your wonderful new website.
Yeah.
And you're talking about planning then, so I was looking through your website, I'm sure it'll be on the new version, but the I Do diaries, I really love reading those journeys. So how did that all come about?
We just wanted to do something totally different away from what everybody else was sort of doing within their titles. And an I Do diary is obviously like the couple, the story literally from they've got engaged. We then cover them in the magazine. We follow their journey throughout every issue, right up until they get married, and then they automatically get a real life wedding, which is such a lovely thing to have, because they'll keep those issues forever. And then maybe show their kids if they have children. Yeah, it's just it's lovely for us to also see it all coming together from today. From the two girls were upset all this to them, and they were like, hey, we're nosy, we're jerk.
To know the nice story of how they got together, and then seeing these things that they've spoken about to you for months, and seeing it all come together.
I have had it a few times. Again, a good thing with humanist weddings is you can add these things into the story of the couple, and there's been a number of times where we've heard some of the team say that the wedding ring has been melted down from a loved one's the gran or grandpa's, and they've kind of the person doing it, the ring maker's melted it down and just redesigned it, but it's the whole heart of it, isn't it? You mentioned look at the new website coming up.
Yes. So we decided at the end of last year that we've kind of not killed, but the website, we have grown so much in the last 4 years that the website just can't sustain the size that we've grown to. So we've been building a new site with an amazing company that we work with every day, and they are building a beautiful new site for us. And we've got big plans for the site. So,
and is it still the same logo, branding and stuff, or for something?
Yes, same logo, except it's black. We've turned it black and gold.
Very sleek.
Yes. Yeah, and you'll see a massive difference, I think, with the profiles. That's really what the site was geared to do. So the profiles for each of the companies that are with us, it'll have so many new features on there. So there'll be, again, we've researched this now for a long time, but we've noticed that there's no other websites out there that have got the actual business owner or the wedding coordinator or the person who will be dealing with the wedding. So there'll be a short video, just a wee sort of 30-second video, just saying hi, and this is who we are, and this is what we're all about.
Yeah.
Because people buy people, so it's important to get that face out there. There'll also be, the reviews are obviously still there, which is a really important part of a profile, because then that ranks you higher in Google when people are searching for things. But there's video options now. There's a whole host of things. Also, the whole website is audible, just so that if anybody limits
accessibility.
100%. Like, and more people are doing audible things, especially at the gym. Like, they're maybe in the swimming pool, but you still want to listen to about a real life wedding, or you want to listen to one of our I Do diaries, or anything, just a
Or
supplier.
is that going to be just a click here button you type out?
Yeah, and it'll be yeah. So again, nobody else is doing that. So we're just trying to pave the way ahead and try and do things that nobody else is doing. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're all about, George.
Depending on when people are listening to the podcast, it's likely the website is probably live right now as we're speaking. So please go to yourscottishwedding.co.uk.
So yeah, it'll be a great planning tool for wedding couples and also for you guys as well, just to be again showcased in such a nice way. So yeah, we're very excited about it.
The website just now and the new one will still have the kind of the feature stuff of couple features,
100%.
which you said earlier is a big part.
We always just wanted to be there to provide inspiration and also information, like what we were saying earlier, like the basic who walks down the aisle first or in what order, or all these things that you don't even think about really when you someone.
But when someone doing it for the first time, the only time they kind of scratch their head a wee bit about that stuff. And I think for future couples to see, they like to see the real life weddings, tell if it's their venue.
Yeah.
Or it might be one of their suppliers actually.
You want to feel what your photographers do. Photographers will always digest as well. Don't just look at snippets. Go and see an entire wedding I've shot and make sure that you're seeing like the breadth of their work too.
Yeah. And just going back to the I Do diaries very quickly, if that's okay. As a wedding supplier to Your Scottish Wedding, like anybody can come to us and say, I've got this great couple. They're absolutely fabulous. They'd be a great I Do diaries. Then just speak to us about it. Like, we're very approachable. Our door's always open.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's why we've collaborated so much with you guys.
If it's a great idea, then why not?
Yeah. What in particular do you think have you seen from us at Fuze kind of catches your eye or makes you think that that's a good feature when we kind of put these ideas forward to you?
Something really unique. You know, it'll either be something different or the couple, or maybe the bride in this particular issue maybe had a red dress or a black dress or a pink dress or a...
I always say to couples, and it's about, because sometimes the couples are planning their wedding and they meet with one of us as our celebrant, we always ask, so what, have you been a humanist wedding? What have you seen that caught your eye? And all the stuff before and after and during and stuff. And sometimes they say, oh yeah, we've been to about 5 of our friends' weddings this year.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a bit of a domino effect. They're all kind of that age and they're all kind of getting right. And I always say to them, you'll be laser focused on everything. So we've talked a lot about social media and the magazine and how it's a great resource for couples planning, but the future of weddings, and we talked about content creators and different styles of dresses and hanging fabrics and all sorts of stuff. But what do you think? Have you got a crystal ball handy? What weddings are going to shape up like?
No, because people are so innovative and they're so creative. Because like food trucks and like your tuk-tuks and stuff like that, and people are becoming more, and again, this came from COVID, like people just started diversifying their businesses and stuff, and wedding couples were just so ready, I think, for all these new things, like rather than just a sort of bog standard type thing that they were maybe having at other people's weddings. So
I think it's just also diverse. You can have exactly what you want. So I wouldn't
don't even relate it
to say.
Don't you think though, when something new comes out, like, why didn't I think of that? It's so merry.
Like the donut board and the crisp board.
No, very.
We've seen escape rooms. We've seen all sorts.
Yeah, I've seen one at a tattoo artist at
what's the real?
A wedding, I think, of Aiden Groom down at first. They done a little kind of, it's a small.
And why not? See if that's your thing. Why not? It's neat. I love it.
Oh, it's I love how you always just think what's next, and then something just suddenly appears, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you keep your eye on? I think we're in all industries. We kind of think, right, what's coming over from the States? What are they doing?
Definitely.
Is that stuff that you guys look at?
Yeah. Yeah, I think what we're talking about with all the huge, blousy, floral arrangements, coming straight from American weddings. These beautiful, like, New England weddings that are out in forest and all sorts. Yeah, I see that and I think, would that work in Scotland, first of all? Are we guaranteed the weather for these sort of things? But yeah, and then we've seen these beautiful suspended chandeliers over tables. Stunning. I I think there's definitely a go big or go home way of doing things there. And definitely even being more kind of the return of the dinner jacket, I think.
Which is a
Yeah.
I'm always going to be a Highland wearer. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely tuxes are a bit
or even just a bespoke suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're seeing a lot of more sort of people either going for the tux or the sort of bespoke suit over Highland wear, but Highland wear
Very much suits a city wedding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're going abroad as well, obviously, like maybe want something that's maybe not as heavy.
Oh, of course, yeah.
We're also saying like 2 dresses too, a bride. So in a jet swap, I'm sure you're seeing that a lot.
Well, I had one of my couples. It was their first anniversary just a couple of weeks ago, and they're over in Tuscany or on a kind of not honeymoon, just a holiday. And she posted a picture of she's had her wedding dress cut to a mini dress, and it altered slightly, and she was wearing that on her first anniversary and that Tuscan background. It was absolutely gorgeous. I thought that's quite a cool thing, actually.
Absolutely, because my wedding dress is sitting in a box where was done by the dry cleaner.
No, totally.
11 years.
And I got married 28 years ago, and it lay up the loft for long enough. Like it just did. I remember just shortly after we get married, like Ted would come in from work, and sometimes I was just hoovering with my dress on because there was never any other time that I would get to wear it again. And I just have it on. But I eventually just gave mine into the charity shop.
Oh, it's
just it was so beautiful, and I thought
kind.
someday, so we put it into the charity shop, and some other lucky person got to wear it. So
Is there anything that you think in a humanist-led ceremony that you thought to yourself that's so different to the choice that people have had in the past?
I think definitely telling the personal tales of a couple coming out and feeling like I've learned something about them and their relationship and in a way that you wouldn't necessarily get in other more set ceremonies. I think that's it's very tight. Well, time and time again, we'll always say to couples when we're asking them for their wedding feature, why did you choose your ceremony? Why did you go down that route? And 9 times out of 10, couples who've opted for a humanist ceremony will say, because it was personal, because you could say exactly what we wanted to say. We could say the vows, we could write them ourselves, or we could go for a more prescribed one if that didn't suit us and if our personalities were a bit shyer and we didn't want to say these. And a lot of the time you'll find that those couples have then said their own vows to each other before or else later on in the day.
That's a good question, actually, a good point rather, because couples, again, come on to meetings with us and they get freaked out because they need to speak out loud. That's point one, right? Yeah. But calm them down, say there is something you need to say out loud to literally marry you, but there's a kind of super quick version, or there's a wee bit more words if you want. But then it's like, but what about personal vows? And it's maybe because they've seen a friend's wedding or something like that, or the movies, of course. And I always just say to people, if you don't want to do that, you don't need to do it. You can say that behind closed doors. Is that kind of what you're kind of hearing from couples maybe you do the features, or?
It's the couples who sometimes like, it's not us to get all lovey-dovey or emotional in front of a little pile of people, but we can say these to ourselves. And like sometimes it's been the night before as they're saying night out to each other. Yeah. They'll have done a little personal vow exchange, or else they'll leave it on.
Yeah. What about kids at weddings? Have you seen any sort of do's or don'ts on that? Because at ceremonies, it's a tough one sometimes.
I think it's a very personal thing. Whenever I was getting married, did not want children at my wedding. Yeah. Ended up with a few, but then having kids myself, I think, that's lovely. They've been invited to it as well. So I think it all comes down to your own personal take. But there's definitely things that can help manage children in a way. Like
the child care thing, that's another
even Annie.
That's another sector. It's kind of boom, isn't it?
Even just setting up like a special area for them or a separate room with 1 or 2 responsible adults can really help things out.
And sometimes couples say, we're not having any kids. When we told our friends that they said yes, as long as you've got some babysitters in your family.
I know.
Of course, but they do give you good comical moments in the ceremony. I've had a few where they've come in a wee kind of remote control car, down the aisle.
I know, it's so
like,
the ring.
Will you marry my mummy? Ring bearers, ring security.
Ring secured.
Another one. It depends on the age of the kids and stuff. And even in this, sand blending ceremony. So we're obviously living in a culture where we're kind of sometimes bringing 2 families together that are blending a family together. So that's a lovely gesture. Of kind of the coloured sand, or someone like you said, your friend Lesley's getting married after 23 years of married together. Yeah. Then they are clearly already a couple 100% and a family 100%. But there's a nice way of, especially if the one party's taking a surname
Yes, I was going to say that.
or not. Sometimes it's not the case. Have you seen any trends on that actually with the name changes or not?
The blending names, and not even double-barreled, but creating an entire new name as well. And again, it all comes down to this: do what you want.
Say you want, yeah.
Make it your own. Be who you want to be, and you know choose what your married name is going to be, or leave. Hold on to your maiden name if that's what's really better.
Oh,
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, there's people who are really excited about getting a new name, and
I think especially whenever there are kids involved too, and it's like, well, I want to have the same name as kids.
Yeah, I always, me and the team always make a thing of it, and officially you've now been welcomed into the same clan now. So listen, let's wrap up by kind of getting a bit of a perspective on a bit of a takeaway, if you like. So we've talked about a lot of stuff, which is going to be great for the listeners when they're planning and beyond. What is, if you were to give advice on a takeaway, what would it be, do you think?
Don't sweat the small stuff. Like, I think people get so wrapped up on trying to make the day so perfect that they kind of lose focus on what the day's all about, which is just about becoming together, like, as a couple.
The start of a marriage, it's not up to a wedding, it's more than that. I think practically speaking as well, I'd say get organised, give yourself as much time as possible to establish what you want, set a budget. And what I will always say, budget in a spreadsheet and get your bookings done and enjoy the process. Yeah.
I know.
Don't let yourself cave into any pressure of what other people tell you need to have, or this is what a wedding should be. Just do what you want to do that's going to make it perfect for you.
Yeah.
And if you are feeling overwhelmed, contact us. Like, our details are on the website, they're in the magazine. Contact us and we'll help you as much as possible.
And is that advice any different, do you think? I know that was an overall kind of the wedding day, but jumping back to our part of the day, the celebrant-led part of the day, is that any different for that, or is there anything specific, a takeaway you give them, the listeners, on that?
Ooh, make sure you gel with your celebrant and beforehand. Like, we'll say the same thing about your photographer. They're going to be with you for a heck of a lot of time on your day. Your celebrant is going to be there at one of the most important moments of your life.
Yeah.
So just find the right person for you, the person you feel gets you and is going to tell your story properly.
It's equally as important, isn't it? Isn't it in the perfect venue, getting the perfect dress?
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes we can get too hung up on the look of the wedding, but this is the actual crux of the wedding and the marriage, how you're legally becoming together.
Yeah.
So I just think make sure that
that's totally to echo that, and when we are speaking to our couples as a celebrant team, we encourage them to speak to a few others in the team as well, so that they kind of get a feel for that gut feel moment that says, right, you're the one. It's almost like an extension of, right, I found you as my partner, because we are spending a lot of time, maybe not on the day itself, but it's the lead up, it's all the preparation and the story writing, the ceremony writing and stuff like that. So that would be my advice.
Those are verbs.
So listen, thank you so much for coming on location today up in Stirling to record this episode of the Say I Do with Fuze podcast. You can hear all the other episodes online, talking about things like symbolic gestures, talking about vows, rings and I do's, and everything else to make your ceremony part of your day and beyond, of course. Magical and memorable also. Thank you to Lesley.
Thank you, George.
And thank you to Katie.
Thank you.
See you in the next episode.